What's up, my guys? What's up, my girls? AKA my dear and beloved Dani Flowis. It's good to be with you one time for the 19 times. I'm your boy Dani Flow, your favorite podcast, vodcast teacher. I teach you things, a pronunciation that I stole from my lovely wife. Shout out to you, baby. So, I basically teach you by giving you, my guys and my girls, my philosophy, my philosophy of fitness, my philosophy of family, and my philosophy of faith, which is that we should all be Catholic. And yes, I'm aware that I'm hella weird, but you like it. So in this episode, I'm gonna talk about whether an older girl should date a younger guy. So this episode is gonna be more about family, right? It's definitely gonna be philosophical. It is gonna be about family, because dating should lead to marriage. Marriage should lead to starting your own family, right? And sometimes they don't happen in that order. And then I think it also is going to be about faith. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of those three things in this episode. So maybe I should start off by saying that I think I'm going to break this episode up into multiple episodes because I don't want to make them too long. I think it's a great question. It's an interesting question. It's a big question. We have a lot to consider. And so I don't want to throw too much at you, my guys and my girls. And then maybe in between episodes, you can share your thoughts with me. Tell me what you think about my reasons for answering the way that I answer. And so I think I should just give you the answer up front. I think that the answer to whether an older girl should date a younger guy, I think the only answer on the table is it depends. I think it's okay in some cases and it's not okay in other cases. And I think over the next few episodes, or I don't know how many episodes I'm going to break it up into. Hopefully you'll stick around and I won't bore you to death. But like I said, I think it's a question that we need to consider. We need to consider a lot. So I think that's number one. I'm going to break this up into multiple episodes. I think the other thing that we should discuss in this first part of this, I guess, series that I'm going to do over multiple weeks is, why am I talking about this? Well, last week I talked about what kind of guy a girl should date. You're welcome to listen to that episode. I think it's a good episode. It did very well compared to my previous 10 episodes. It was getting the same number of views that the other ones were, but just it was getting them faster. And so since I saw that there seemed to be an apparent interest in it, I kind of did promote it a little bit more on Instagram to people that I thought might be interested in it, you know. So you're welcome to listen to that. So what I mentioned in that episode, just briefly, is, you know, I care about women because I'm a Catholic. The Catholic Church is the bride of Christ. You know, women are brides, women are mothers. So I care about Holy Mother, the Church, because that's the bride of my Lord, right? And I care about the Virgin Mary, right? The mother of my Lord. I think I go a little bit more into detail in the last episode, but I also care about my wife. I care about, I don't have any daughters yet, but I don't even have daughters yet. And if I do have daughters, I already love them, right? I want the best for them. I care about my mother, my biological mother, my sisters, my aunts, my cousins that are girls, all of my coworkers that are girls. I just care about girls. I want the best for them. I want them to end up with a good guy in this life, to be as happy as we can in this life. Of course, you know, there's an asterisk on that. I don't think that we can be completely happy in this life. I think we'll only be completely happy in the next life if we die in friendship with God and then are with Him for all of eternity, right? So there was a lot there. So you can tell me what you think about that in the comments below, or however you want. So that's kind of why I'm talking about this. So that's number two. Multiple episodes. Number two, I gave you a little bit why I'm discussing this topic. I love women and I want the best for them. So the third thing is I'm a big family guy, right? That's why I talk about family on this vodcast. I'm a husband and I'm a father. I think being a husband is cool, right? Don't believe the hype. Get married, guys out there. I think being a father is cool. Also, don't believe the hype. Go out there and get married and have some kids. And I have an interesting philosophy about family, husbandness, marriage, and fatherhood, parenthood, motherhood, whatever you want to call it, which is that I think that we seem to be putting off in the later years, maybe until we're 30, around there. And we do it because we think it'll make us happy, but it seems apparent to me that it's not. And so I think we need to rethink that. Some of you might be like, that's right, we should be waiting until we're 40, but I also think we have plenty of examples of people that don't have any family at 40 and are not married, and they don't seem any happier. It's usually the people that are 40 with kids and are married and stuff like that seem pretty happy, seem pretty joyful. That could be in the bubble that I live in, but maybe that's like a reflective thing that you should kind of take on. Just think of people that are 40, 30, that seem to be the happiest, that seem to be the most joyful, and think of, are these people that are single and that maybe they have a lot of accomplishments, maybe they have a good career, maybe they have a nice house, a nice car, maybe that career that they're doing is they're passionate about something, or is it the people that have started families? And so I actually think that it's gonna go the other direction. I think something is gonna give, and eventually we're gonna realize that we should be getting married and starting families younger. So I don't know if I'll spend the entire time on this point, but one of the things that I mentioned in the last episode I was talking about is like, so people definitely aren't getting married younger. I think the numbers show that, but I mean, people are still having kids at a young age, and that's not necessarily on purpose. Despite that, it's still happening. It might be because it's kind of normal, like it's kind of normal in air quotes, scare quotes, that even people under 18 are sexually active. And so if a lot of young people are sexually active, some of that sexual activity is going to result into pregnancy, because pregnancy isn't something that you add to sex. Pregnancy is something that is just a part of sex. Like, you don't have to add anything to sex to end up pregnant if the woman is fertile, and then if the man is always fertile, unless there's something wrong, like he's got a low sperm count or something like that. So it just makes sense that if a lot of young people are sexually active, some of them are just gonna end up becoming parents sooner than they wanted to. And of course I have thoughts about that. We can get into that later. But so yeah, people aren't necessarily getting married young. They're definitely having kids young, and then that doesn't necessarily mean that they end up marrying the person that they had the child with. But so I guess I should discuss another reason that I'm talking about this is, let me just start off by saying that I think girls mature faster than men. That's number one. And so I do think that because they mature kind of faster than men, I do think that they want to get married and have kids faster than men do. I think a lot of girls are doing kind of what I stated. They're kind of putting marriage and family off because maybe they want to travel the world. That's fine. Maybe they want to focus on their education. That's fine. Maybe they want to focus on their career. That's fine, right? For the purposes of this video, that's fine. I also have thoughts about that we can get into later. And of course, guys are doing the same thing. So that maybe when they get to their 30s, right? Maybe they did accomplish all that. Maybe they did a significant amount of traveling. Check. Maybe they were able to get that education that they wanted. Check. Maybe they were able to get that career that they wanted. Check. And so now what? So like maybe now they're ready to get married, and just so like it's so women in their 30s, they can get pregnant, right? But it's just easier to get pregnant younger, right? And then the closer you get to 40, so women in their 40s can get pregnant as well. And then as soon as like when you get to like your 50s, it's possible, but it's just a higher risk, right? And so there is a little bit of a time constraint. Maybe that's why they kind of want to get married and have a family sooner than guys. There's a constraint on them, as opposed to men are fertile, I think, pretty much all their lives. Why? I don't know. I guess I do have thoughts on that too, but I'm trying to like stick to the points that I want to make in this episode, and so then we can move on to the next episode next week. So if you think about, so ideally a girl in her 30s, so maybe a girl in her 30s also didn't accomplish everything that she wanted to accomplish, but she recognizes that time constraint, and in her heart, in her soul, just in her being, she knows that she wants to be a wife and a mother. And so she's willing to, I guess, in spite of not accomplishing all that stuff, she wants to find someone, get married, find a guy, get married, and have kids. So ideally it would be somebody in around the same age, right? Plus or minus a couple years, a few, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever. But so like I said, I think girls mature. Number one, I think girls mature faster. Number two, I think girls want to get married and have kids faster than guys. And sometimes that time constraint kicks in, right? So like, what if a guy in his 30s hasn't accomplished the education that he wants, the traveling that he wants, the career that he wants, maybe other material stuff like a house, a car, whatever. Well, he doesn't have that time constraint, right? So in his mind, he has plenty of time to be a dad. He's only 30, right? The average US male, I think the average lifespan for a man and a woman living in the United States is like almost 80, like 79 or something like that. So he's like, I got 50 years to become a dad, as opposed to a girl is not looking at it that way, you know? And so she might be able to maybe date an older guy who's like 40, right? But what if he feels the same way? So maybe he hasn't accomplished everything that he wanted in life before getting married and having a kid, and so he's thinking at it like, I've got 40 years to be a dad. I'm gonna still focus on my plans, on my ambitions, on my goals, on what I want to do. And so like, where does she go? Like a girl in her 30s, does she go to like a 50-year-old guy? You know, I don't know. I think maybe somebody in his 50s is probably, this is a stereotype and a generalization, but it's probably set in his ways. You know, he probably maybe doesn't even want kids at that point. Maybe. I think maybe I should do an episode on that, like whether a younger girl should, like a girl in her 30s should date a guy in his like 50s. So I think that what's gonna happen is, like, girls that maybe accomplish everything that they wanted to in their 20s or didn't, I think they're going to start looking for younger guys, because I think that this newer generation is kind of I think they're gonna realize that the hype about putting off like marriage until you accomplish all this stuff, it's a little weird, because it's almost like no matter what, marriage and family are still the end goal, but for some reason you want to take like a detour. That's the way that I see it. Like people say, you know, don't get married until you finish college, until you have some money saved up, until you can maybe pay for the wedding of your dreams, maybe buy the house of your dreams first. Yeah, do some traveling, get out there and know the world, and then get married and have kids. Well, it's a little weird that like if at the end of the day, now I think there are some maybe I should say this. So I think there are some people that marriage and family isn't for them, but I think I might have an unpopular or an unmainstream or a different opinion about this, but I think that the number of people that actually applies to is very low. But like let's just say normally, like if for most people marriage and family is something that they eventually want, then it seems kind of weird to take all of these detours first if that's where I'm gonna end up anyways. It almost seems like a better idea to like, what if I find the person that I want to marry first and it's like start a family like first and then like get to do all that stuff after, you know what I mean? Like if that stuff is almost like, it almost seems like that stuff is just like almost like a supplement, you know what I mean? Like almost like the cherry on top, you know what I mean? Because it's like, so like think of people that get a specific career or a specific education or specific travel. Like some of those people are married and have kids, so it's not like impossible to travel the world if you're married and have kids. Some people do it. It might be harder. Nobody's saying it's not harder. Or like think of like achieving a particular type of career. It is going to be harder because you have to have a work-life balance. Nobody's saying that it's not going to be harder, but it's not like impossible. People have done it. People have, and if anything, like I think that if you have a wife, and as a guy, if you have a wife and kids, that like to me, like I do have a wife and kids, and it does motivate me to like be better so that I can, you know, have like the finances to not just take care of our needs, but to use some of those finances to show them that I love them, right? And just I have a wife and a kid, and I'm in school. It's hard. Nobody's saying that it's not hard, but it almost seems like I don't know. It just does. It seems a little bit like backwards, and I think that the younger generation of guys are. That's not to say that. It's not to say that the younger generations of girls aren't going to realize this either, but I think that well, number one, I think most girls are doing better in education than guys right now. I've seen some stuff on that. Could be wrong. I'm not against being wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll probably be wrong again. It's cool if I'm wrong. I just, you know, I'm a fan of truth. So I think truth is cool. So I think that because older girls are going to get there like first, right? As far as like getting married and wanting kids, I think they're gonna maybe find themselves like younger guys, maybe guys even younger, like if you're in your early 30s, like maybe somebody in their early 20s. And so that's why this is an interesting question. That's why it's a great question. It's a big question, and there's a lot to consider. And this episode is already really long. I think I'll wrap it up there, right? So just to recap, right? These like multiple episodes about this are pretty much, they are going to be very philosophical. It's going to be about family. There's going to be a little bit about faith. I might sprinkle a little bit of fitness in there, just because I think I have an interesting view on that. And so far we've discussed that I'm going to make it multiple episodes. And I think the other thing that we discussed is that I spent a lot of time is I might forget something. So go back and listen to the beginning of this if you want to make sure that I'm recapping this accurately. But basically, I just think that older girls are eventually going to end up marrying younger guys because they're ready to have a family and get married faster after trying and successfully achieving some things, or maybe not achieving them, but then they're ready because they have a time constraint. And I think younger guys are going to maybe realize that putting up, and younger girls too. I'm not saying that that's not going to happen either. But I think that because older girls are gonna maybe realize this, that they're kind of gonna, I mean, it's gonna just create, I don't want to talk about this like in economic terms, because that's reductionist, I think, and people and persons are, and girls and guys are just more complicated than this. But I think it is going to create a demand for, like, all right, so who do I marry, right? So, and then like when it starts happening, I think it's going to last for a while, a little bit, until it kind of, I think this is a prediction, and I could be completely wrong. So yeah, I think younger guys will realize it's not a good idea to put off marriage until I accomplish all these things. And I think a lot of guys are going to realize that the type of life that maybe a 30-year-old guy lives that isn't married and has kids yet, and maybe even a 40-year-old guy that isn't married and has kids yet, maybe if it, like, they might look at their lives and they might realize that's not a life that they want for themselves. And so then you might have some young guys that are ready to get married, and then you might have some young girls that are ready to get married too. You might not have some young girls that are getting married because, again, they want to get an education or travel or something like that, and they can go ahead and do that, and so they might go for older girls. And so that has a lot of implications, that has a lot of, it'll have some unintended consequences that we don't see, and so I want to talk about it, and so that's what I'm gonna do. Cool. Thanks for watching, my guys and my girls. Let me know what you think. How? That's a great question. Send me a DM on the gram at Dani_flow, DANI_FLO. You can comment below if you're watching on YouTube. Send me a snap if you've added me on Snappity Chat. You can also send me a voice message on Anchor. The link to that is below, however you, my guys and my girls, want. If you're watching your boy on YouTube, thanks for watching. Please like and share the link to my vodcast so that you can help me grow my channel. If you're watching and you aren't subscribed, please subscribe and let me know in the comments below how you found me and why you subscribed. If you're listening to your boy on Apple Podcasts, thanks for listening. Please share the link to my podcast so that you can help me grow my listenership. And please leave a review if you feel like doing something cool for your boy. The link to support the Dani Flow vodcast financially is below. Please consider it if my vodcast is a cool thing in your life. If not, that's cool. Keep listening and share my vodcast with your bestie, your nextie bestie, your fam bam, and on your story on the gram if you feel like doing something cool for your boy. So thanks for putting up with me, my guys and my girls. I'm aware that I'm hella weird, but you like it, so let me know what you think. We're a fan of thinking here on the Dani Flow podcast. We like thinking here on the Dani Flow podcast. So please share all your thoughts with your boy, no matter what they are. As always, my dear and beloved Dani Flowist, remember what venerable servant of God Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen taught us: your life is worth living. Love you, my guys and my girls. Bye.